Hello everyone and welcome to Ashana, my new channel. I have with me today the lovely Harry Graham. She's going to be having a chat with us about sound therapy, music. That's her background. She's a composer. She's also a voice coach, a Reiki master, Egyptian second healer, among other things. We're going to have a bit of a demo at the end, just for everyone, just to show a little bit of what Harry does. I mean, she's obviously a lot more than that, but we're going to start just introducing Harry and just getting a little bit of background info. So Harry, without further ado, would you like to give us a little bit of information about your background and how you actually started out in the area of sound? What inspired?
I can. I mean, just stop me if I end up rambling on, but I think from day dot, the earliest memories, I just absolutely love music and sound and dancing. And I think, I'm just trying to think where we go right back to, probably being about 4, being in a percussion club. I was really lucky where I grew up in London because there was so much funding. There were so many music groups. So there was so many opportunities to join in and have fun and explore all the different instruments and music. So that was like my earliest journey, and then going into quite a traditional background where I think a lot of people in the 70s, it would be, you know, we were allowed to sort of like explore piano and then voice, singing, those kind of aspects. And then I went on to study music as my degree. So I'm just trying to think without going into too much detail. So my degree, I specialized in composition and looking at how different chords and harmonies, the effect they had on our emotions. So moving on from my degree, I then at that time was playing in different rock bands, also playing in York Symphony Orchestra. So there's a whole host of different musical worlds. And I think that whole universal language of music and sound, it leads you into so many exciting avenues. So yeah, I mean, I've explored a lot. I've also been a teacher, secondary school teacher, and as well as composing, songwriting, being a voice coach and mentor. I think that's kind of like sets the scene, maybe just to get an idea of where I've come from and how I got to today.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thanks, Harry. And what kind of inspired you to go into the voice coaching in particular?
Well, I was asked. I never felt, I think, although I'd always been singing and used my voice and explored loads of different things and singing in bands, I never felt, oh, I'm going to go and become a voice coach. And then I was asked to be a voice coach for Southwest Music School. And I was quite not taken aback, but I was thinking, oh, hang on a minute, I've got all my other instruments, and I felt very, very powerfully confident in those. So it was actually an amazing opportunity because it meant I could explore the voice in a lot more detail and how I could bring the best out in other people and their confidence. And I think we always have a little bit of reservation about how our voice sounds, and especially when we're singing or yeah, I mean, there's different ways obviously to explore how we find our own voice and how it sounds best. And yeah.
And would you say this came to you naturally then, or was it something that you had to work at?
I think I just always loved singing. So it wasn't that I had to work at it, but the voice is essentially a muscle. So the more you're using that and working with your diaphragm and building it and building your range, it naturally becomes stronger. And then I think that empowers you to feel that you are doing, you know, you feel like you sound better, or you feel more confident to project your voice out on stage.
Yeah, because a lot of people are affected by that, aren't they, with being able to express themselves. So it kind of covers such a huge area of society, that confidence of being able to speak out, being heard. And I suppose singing or sound is kind of one form or modality doing the voice coaching of helping people to express themselves. The same as drama and other kind of various things. But excuse me. So sound obviously has frequency and resonance, which is what you call your lovely website name and your company name. How would you say that using sort of frequency and sound, how does that actually help other people in their journey?
Well, So we all obviously have a resonance. I mean, everything vibrates. So I think it's working from, once I kind of like shifted a little way from music, and then you kind of deconstruct the music, if you like, into a tone or a particular sound or frequency, it then becomes like a lot more apparent in how that feels and how that resonates with you. So we all have our own resonance. And then obviously if you have the sound therapy or the sound frequency, it's how that entrainment, how does that sound make you feel? How do you vibrate in sympathy? You know, it's like a sympathetic resonance that you are then becoming, if you like, the same frequency of that is being played. And then it's just how that feels within the body, how it can rebalance, whether it's the biological system. It's how that affects you and your feelings, your emotions. And it's almost like inducing that relaxation response. So I don't know if that gives you a little bit of insight.
So is there any sort of examples you can give, like sort of on the health side, just from your experience, how it's helped other people? Maybe I know I can give an example personally, but
yeah, so there was a lot of quite aggressive cancer in my family, which is also a reason I got really curious about how other modalities could sort of help support access, especially like palliative care. It was just, how could you maybe support and change how that person is feeling? And so it's got such an amazingly vast, it can affect everybody really in whatever they need. So I think the first thing is how it affects your nervous system. So obviously if you're going into that deep relaxation, if you are changing your brainwave state and you're going into that kind of theta brainwave, how that calms everything in your whole system, how it slows everything down, slows your heart rate down, your breathing, just leads you into a place of calm. And then obviously in that space, it's how you can access, how you can kind of almost tune into your own healing potential, and how you can change, you know, that vibration that's going on within your cells. There's been so much scientific research. So you've got Dr. Emoto, who was looking at how, just working with water, how he could change through resonance, how he could change that water, what it looked like. So you've got the somatics, and then of course our body is made up of so much water. So you can kind of imagine, actually, if you have a single sound and a frequency and a vibration, the effect that has in your body, and how that can kind of reset and change those patterns and change that movement, change that flow, and how that can affect how you feel.
yeah, well, yeah, no, I was going to say, one of the examples, when I came to you recently for a session, I was very highly sort of charged and stressed, and without realizing it really, I suppose. And also there was something in my environment that you'd kind of indicated during our session that was triggering, or, you know, certainly activating some of the sleep issues. And interestingly, after having, well, I mean, the session was amazing, I will just put it out there. I had a lovely sound bowl frequency session where you use the bowls over the body, and you intuitively connected with the right bowls to use for me, and what to do. That was incredible, but it was almost just like being ironed out. It was a really lovely, de-stressing, relaxing thing, but just so deep. And, you know, like I said, I've done massage before, I've done therapies myself. I've also done Reiki as well over the years, and you know, I'm very sensitive to energy. So when I really feel that complete, almost ironing out of my system, I came away almost, not, I was floating for a while, I did have to ground, but it was like, just, oh my gosh, it was almost like just feeling in an alignment. And when I came home that evening, I was able to detect what it was, because I immediately went near that object, and I immediately felt that anxiety and that stress of what I had when I actually came to you. So as soon as I kind of eliminated that kind of eradicated that problem. So it's quite fascinating how that affects people, the de-stressing, helping to kind of undo or reverse possible health ailments or conditions. Can you talk a little bit on that side?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like as you say, whether we're an antennae or a channel or whatever we are connected to, which I know there's so many different thoughts and ideas on that, so I won't go too heavily into it, but I feel that it's almost like, if you imagine we are a tuning fork ourselves, it's almost like we are tuning into our own frequencies. How often do we have an opportunity where we can alter our brain waves and we can almost like turn them off, so our body has a chance to kind of chat to us and tell us what's going on, so you can kind of almost sense through the body. I love using Reiki. It's really, really powerful, but there's something with the sound that instantly just, it's like a switch. It just puts you into that meditative state, and you in that have a chance to almost like retune. Obviously, if I am doing a sound meditation or sound bath, I have lots of harmonizing frequencies and intervals, and especially using the fifths or using overtones, that kind of almost connects and rebalances a lot within the body. So I think that really helps. And then obviously, if I'm doing a one-to-one, I can be more specific. It's almost like you have time to work with the client and work out what is going on in the body and where. And the bowls are great at chatting and giving an idea of what is happening on. It's the same, I guess it's still working with energy, but you can hear it and you can feel it, and it's the way you can shift that through the body and retune. Really, I think it's very much like just retuning the body. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, no, it is. And can you talk a little bit more, because I had this amazing, the fact that you were able to intuit what note or say what frequency my body has in this lifetime, what I've chosen to kind of come in and work with. And then you gave me the frequency tone so that I could go and get my own tuning fork, which resonated with that frequency. And I have used that on myself, and it's been quite amazing, just certainly of rebalancing and again realigning. So could you talk a little bit about that and what it is, as much as you can? I mean, obviously, I know you only make yourself, but how that again helps somebody. So first part of the question would be just, can you talk about what it means to have your own personal note, if you're able to, and how that helps someone?
So there's again, I have to be a little bit careful because there are very different viewpoints on this, and some have been very expressive in saying there's no such thing as these different frequencies and notes. My research and experience is only from my part is I do feel that we have our own tuning, and although they say like your root chakra would be a C and your sacral would be a D and so on, that's never quite how I've felt, maybe. And as a musician, I've always been drawn to composing and writing in certain keys and using certain chords and certain harmonies. So it kind of led to this idea that we do have a fundamental note that is maybe where our different organs and our own orchestra of frequencies are set in a slightly different way to somebody else. So perhaps that even means that we might harmonize really well with somebody, or maybe our friends. It's been interesting even seeing friendship groups, and if I've been working in circles or groups, how they have certain harmonious chord notes, for example, and then maybe people who clash, maybe they have more dissonant notes. So I do feel there is definitely something where we have slightly different frequencies, and then it's really important to keep ourselves balanced. So once you can find out what your root tone is and tuning into the body, and you can then use that resonance. Everyone has a voice, so I love using the voice. You don't have to go and buy hundreds of instruments and become a bowl lady like me. I'm not going to show you all the bowls, but just to give you an idea, there's a few. So it's just how can you tune into yourself, find out where in your body, so having your root tone, finding out which energy point in the body is feeling out of kilter, and then how you can use that note, that resonance. A tuning fork is wonderful because it's very, very focused, and that can work on a meridian point or very, very, very focused. its way of working, but you could use your voice and you could resonate that at any point that you feel like you need to take yourself away and do some breathing and just tone a ooh, or wherever in the body you feel like you need to, whether it's release or clear something, or whether you need to kind of like recharge that part. It's not feeling great. So it's almost, I mean, the yogis have done this forever with different positions and how they look at the energy in the body and how they keep that kind of recharged and balanced. And this is a different way. I mean, it's using sound, and well, we all know that right from day dot, sound has been so incredible in every way. So yeah, anyway, I'll stop there for a moment and let you.
No, that's absolutely fine. Honestly, it's just such a fascinating subject because, you know, everything you're saying about that frequency with people and the harmonics, and it makes perfect sense because everything has a frequency. And so, you know, it makes perfect sense that if we are sort of slightly on different frequencies or different energies, that you're going to be drawn to some people more than others. And it's a really another way of understanding, isn't it? It's just one sort of small aspect of the whole, but it's really crucial to kind of acknowledge that. And I just found personally being able to have my own frequency. I mean, I've used the tuning fork, as I said, on myself already, and I haven't used it a lot, but when I have used it, it's been very powerful because I tend to forget. I'm a bit like I get into my routines every day, and then intuitively I'll suddenly go, oh yeah, tuning fork, when I'm out of sorts, and then I'll do it, and then, you know, it has an amazing sort of calming sort of a realignment effect, which is quite powerful. So there's definitely something in it because the body doesn't lie in what you feel and what you sense. So even if we don't fully understand sort of all the, you know, the dynamics, but that's something that you do, is, you know, in your sessions, which I think is very, very powerful. Is that something, are you looking at doing this online at some stage? Because I know at the moment you're just local and you're in Devon, and obviously we're very lucky down here because we've got access, but not everybody would be able to. Is that something that you'd be looking at doing in the future?
Yeah, so I have kind of started behind the scenes making, I guess I'll see a client and then make them a recording that they can then, in that interim period before their next session, they can then have to listen to, whether it's a set of intervals between certain bowls, or it might be using the voice or toning. So they have that as like a little audio clip that they can then listen to. And then it just kind of helps with that reset and continuing that change in frequency. So that's something I love doing. But equally, if that's not, you know, if doing a one-to-one and having a sort of consultation online, which is another way, which is really nice to check in and tune in and see what's happening with somebody, which can easily be done online. And then it's sort of like working out whether they would rather work individually and then doing things where you might tone, might use their voice. As you say, I know we sort of suggested getting a tuning fork because that's something that's portable that you can take with you anywhere. So finding out what would be a really good tone or a really good frequency to use, or joining a group that, you know, where I'm doing sort of like weekly, I mean, there's sound circles, there's all sorts of things, but where you could actually join in and actually do a vocal group online. So you don't have to, anyone who's worried about how their voice sounds, they can then explore that in their own space at home without everybody hearing it. And then I'm quite happy to share however my voice sounds. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a great way to have explored over the last 20 years how to use it, how to develop it, and how to make it strong, and then how to tone in each energy center. And if anyone wants to explore even overtoning, which again is, do you want me to demonstrate? I don't know if
yeah, if you could. And then I've got another question in a minute regarding
I know to anyone out there thinking, what are you talking about? So,
no,
but
fine.
you know, if you have a tone and you had like your, say we're working with a heart, the heart's a really nice one, so I like doing like a and holding like an R tone and having a note. Again, we're all going to be slightly different. We have slightly different voices. So, you know, obviously a guy is going to have a much deeper voice, you know, if you've got a bass voice, to if you're a soprano. You know, I'm somewhere sort of probably alto, mezzo, soprano, but if I have a I can feel that around this area, you know. So if I went to maybe a it's a tone that I can feel around my solar plexus. So it's finding a note, finding a pitch, finding something, however it sounds, that you can feel in that part of the body, and then toning that maybe sort of like 3 times. And then you can go through the whole body with all the different tones, which is, I was blown away the first time I did it. It's a while ago, but it actually, how that can tune your body, how you feel afterwards. And you can actually see that as well, and how the balance changes within each energy point. So yeah, and overtoning again sounds a little bit like you're out of space, but it is, if I'm ever feeling anxious, or you know, we've all had I'm sure everyone else is on the same page that 2024 has been quite a spectacular year of challenges, and it's just, I feel like anything that you can connect with, whether it's meditation or using your voice, you know, just to bring that calm and peace to lots of situations. There's something with the overtoning that just gets really deep within the body, and you would start with an E going to an oo, which again sounds strange, but hopefully you can pick up that if I went E, you might, if you didn't hear that.
I got the E, and then
okay, I might try a lower one. I'll try a little bit louder.
Yeah.
Maybe if I go to a E.
Isn't that interesting? Because it doesn't seem to want to pick up that second one.
Well, that's fine. I can just be making some funny faces on camera. Welcome to my world. I mean, it doesn't get more wacky than working in the field of sound.
Well, I'm glad you're. I was going to say, if it was the other way around, they'd probably all be finishing the video by now.
I hope I'm not the first person that's anyway.
So going back to sort of online stuff, so that's a possibility in the future. Have you thought about, and I don't know the technicalities of this, but have you thought about doing online courses as well? Because I know you're doing quite a few things out in the community, aren't you? And do you want to talk a little bit about that while we're on that subject?
I can do. I mean, I just had there's a lot of courses, lots of really good courses. I always had this whole point that you don't, how do you know what instrument there are a lot of therapeutic instruments. You have gongs, crystal bowls, Himalayan bowls, obviously you've got the tuning forks, you've got chimes, you've got the monochord, the drum. There are a lot of different instruments. And how do you know maybe what, if you don't want to go and work with clients and other people and you want to work with yourself or your family, how would you know what instrument feels right, or what? They're all rhythmically quite different. You're working with the biological rhythms, if you like, essentially, in your vibration in the body. And the gongs, you know, you can feel that shimmering vibration, that shift, that release, if you like, within the body. But somebody, that might be too much. If you've got a lot of trauma you're holding, you might not want to go straight to the gongs. You might actually want to have something that just has a very gentle, soft release, which is probably where I love using the voice. You know, we all have a voice that's a very gentle way in to start working with the body and start shifting through whatever that is that we're holding. So a sound medicine day for me in my head, hopefully this makes sense, was a day where I could do very, very short hour sessions where people have an opportunity to explore, you know, whether it's a Himalayan bowl, a crystal bowl, your voice, without it going too much and then feeling too overwhelmed. But you can just explore how they sound and how that makes them feel. So the drum is quite powerful. It wasn't necessarily the instrument that first grabbed me. I mean, it's an incredible instrument, you know, that's our heartbeat. It's essentially feels like that real guttural survival as soon as you hear that kind of drum beat, and how you can change that and work with it. But that wasn't, again, the first instrument I was drawn to. So rather than having to be like thrown into this world of all these things, you could then maybe experience, hear them, try them out for yourself, see what you like, see if there are certain notes, certain frequencies, and just have like almost like an open day. So you learn how to play them, but it's for yourself, you know, rather than you having to go out and actually be a practitioner. So yes, so that's a day. And then obviously doing one-to-one sessions. If a lot of people, there's a debate, a lot of people say you don't need to be a musician. You don't need to be a musician to use sound. Absolutely not. You don't need to be able to, you know, sing to use your voice. None of that is important, but it's quite helpful to understand maybe what a note is. So the language that is used for sound obviously is still related to music. So again, it's quite nice to be able to do sessions with people that want to explore more about which notes sound nice together. If you want to create harmony, it's good to have an idea about which notes sound nice or sound good together, and why that is, and what feeling that creates. So that's another kind of slightly different, but that's nice for other sound practitioners. Or so I do that online. Yeah, so there's lots of different.
You do weddings and things as well, don't you?
Oh yes. So well, I mean, this world is, as I said, it is pretty wacky, but I think in 1 week I was in this beautiful manor house with absolutely incredible pinch me moment, where I had very, very sort of prolific people from all over the world really coming to this wedding, and they wanted to have this sound session or sound ceremony to start off their wedding celebrations. So I was in this beautiful manor house with, you know, the amazing artifacts around me, amazing acoustics, with everybody lying down. It always makes me smile, having had a background in a secondary school classroom and thinking about year 9 kids and the craziness and drum kits going and guitars, to then I'm sitting here now, everyone is like lying peacefully in front of me in this really calm, relaxed, you know, you're in that theta brainwave. So yes, so I had a wedding. I was then doing a corporate do on a beach, which again, being outside in the UK always poses particular challenges, but it was a beautiful day. We're really blessed with that. And then yeah, it's just one thing after another. You don't know where you're going to find me, where I'm going to be. It could be in a spa, it might be on a beach, it might be in the middle of the woods, I might be in a manor house. Yeah, and then I had the most amazing sound therapist. That was I think that was in the same week, and he happened to be over from Thailand, and he runs lots of courses. You know, he's a sound guru. Is that completely, you know, he works very differently. He's been working for a long time in Thailand, and he happened to be in the UK and wanted to come along, and messaged me to say could he come along to one of my sound sessions, which was, yeah, you know, you have to sort of think, hang on a minute, what if I'm doing is not, you know, how he's doing things. But it was amazing to have him there, and very, very special soul. And so I don't know what's going to be around the corner, you know, or where it's going to take me next, or who's going to suddenly magically appear in my studio. I just have to roll with it and go with the flow.
That says something, doesn't it? I mean, you know, somebody that's quite well known, and they're coming to, you know, to seek you out, and they had a really good session from what you say.
Well, that sounds really, yeah, I have to watch. I'm very humbled, and I'm very, very touched by his comments, but it was one of those nerve-wracking moments saying, well, what if they don't like something? And he complimented me on using binaural beats, which I do love doing. So it was a really positive experience. So that's good. So I feel reassured. So I'm doing the right thing anyway.
That's really, really good. And, you know, again, it gives you more oomph that, you know, you are on the right track, you're doing the right thing. And, you know, sometimes, like you say, facing your fears and stepping into something unknown is what we all need to do, as long as, you know, you're doing it at the right time and not drastically. I think it's important. And, you know, it's like building bridges, isn't it? And you clearly have a gift. That's why.
Oh, bless you. Well, that's very kind of you to say so.
Harry, because you know, you've helped me twice now. But anyway, we'll go on to the next bit. So, Harry, what would you say is your go-to practice that you can't be without?
This year it's been interesting because I don't want to talk too much about my personal experiences, but I think yeah, my husband, he had quite an aggressive cancer, and then my son, he had very serious issues with his heart early on in the year. And I would always, especially with my son, he loves the gong, so it was just like I knew what his notes were. He loved the gong, but I couldn't use sound at that time with him just because his heart, the muscle wasn't pumping as it should, and I didn't want to slow down his heart rate. So Reiki is, however you want to look at it, yeah, obviously there's Usui Reiki, the Egyptians take Hem is a slightly different. I mean, I think understandably it's all a universal life force energy that you're tuning into, that we all have that ability to do. But this year I have needed that more than anything. And I actually had a placement, although I did my Reiki master probably about 24 years ago. I did a final placement because my energy changed this year, and it was pointed out that however I channeled this holy fire Reiki, that's what I was working with. And so then I had a sort of final placement with that, and this I just wouldn't be without. I think it's just, I've been in hospital again with my son the last sort of like week or so, and you can take it anywhere with you. You can calm yourself, whether you're putting your hands in certain places around a part of the body or somewhere that's not functioning well. You don't even have to touch the body. You can work obviously around the subtle bodies and the aura. It's just the most amazing energy that we have and that we could use. So I think that's my go-to at any time, any place. And it's always been there, I've always been using it. But I think this year it's definitely felt like it's gone to a new level and become much more prominent in my work. And I also love how it synchronizes into any treatments I'm doing with sound. So it's almost like actually, as you sense and the bowls, especially if I'm using Himalayan bowls on the body, it's almost as if they are vibrating and showing what the energy is doing. Then to be able to use the hand and your palms to sort of like scan, I suppose, and tune into what's happening and feel around that area, and then compare the differences around the different parts of the body. So the bowls are amazing at getting really deep into the cells and shifting those vibrations, but then using the Reiki and everything else to kind of, yeah, just see. I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail, but
no,
what's going on, it feels like it can kind of work and seal in a very special way. So yeah.
No, appreciate that, Harry. And I know it's tough. It has been a really tough year for a lot of people, and hopefully there's some positivity at the end of all of this, you know, that people can, you know, hold on to. But I'm really glad that the Reiki's kind of helped you in that particular way with your own family and yourself. How did you come across, and what made you go into energy healing?
I think we've spoken about this before. When my children were very, very small, and my daughter was, although she was younger than my son, she was talking earlier, and there's a very small, you know, there's just over a year between them, so they're quite close in age. And we were living at that time in a property we bought this house. It was on an ancient tumuli, and I didn't really look too much into, I don't know, I was aware of energies. I mean, maybe I'd lived at one point in what was the monastery right by York Minster, and there have been various energies going on in there. So I was aware, but I never kind of got too heavily. I have friends who really got into it, but I'd never kind of really explored anything on that level. And when we moved into this property with the children being really small, they were literally talking nonstop about all these things going on and all these people and spirits, and which I thought, okay, this is interesting. My son's going into nursery school talking about he's been flying around with such and such, and And then my daughter was saying the same thing, and look at this. And I thought, hang on, I need to explore what this means. I felt not out of control, but there was a level of discomfort thinking, okay, hang on a minute, they can see everything. I could feel things, but I couldn't see what they could see. So I could sense everything, but not feel it. And that's when it just so happened there was a South American shaman who was literally in the area, and an Egyptian chem master, and it all came together then that it just started that journey. It was like boom, and then there's been no return since then. So I was fairly relieved, I have to say, when we did move to Devon, and the children were like, where are all the people that walk around at night? And although it's like, yes, this happens, I did feel like, oh, we can just sort of be a little bit more peaceful now. So
going back to like the type of sessions that you offer, I know I've had a one-to-one session with you.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about those one-to-one? If somebody was coming to you in person, what sessions you offer? I know it's on your website, but just a brief overview of like what you offer for the audience, so that they know.
So always there are weekly sound baths and sound meditations that go on. I feel more than anything, it's so powerful with the immune system and how that kind of balances the biological system. So even if I've thought, oh, I'll just do the monthly, it makes a really big impact. So I've always kept doing those weekly. I am always probably every day in the studio, there's one-to-one sessions, which there's a Himalayan bowl and body sound massage. There's also sound frequency therapy, which is a little bit more tuning into the body. They're longer sessions, so there's time to like really explore what's going on a more therapeutic level. And obviously it's kind of like having a longer term effect, whereas the sound massage makes you feel great, it's fabulous, but it's not working quite so sort of deeply within what those patterns are that need to change or be reset. And then I've got voice, so I'm always doing like voice sessions online and in person as well. So that's kind of like working through tuning and mindfulness. Shall I go on? I don't know.
You mentioned to me previously about working with children as well, but also mental health.
Yes. So this is something where I toyed with, having had a background in teaching, whether I go back into schools or not. And I think, even my experience as a music teacher, it wasn't about music anymore. It was about the students having to come in and sit in silence for 10 minutes and do writing. And I just felt I wanted to give them that support, but do that outside of school. And there are mental health charities, and there's amazing funding that helps teenagers in particular who are going through an awful lot. And so, I was invited initially to go and do sessions with the sound and take that so they could explore it and almost get a toolkit together to support their own mental health and how they can calm themselves down, self-regulate or look at their nervous system. And anxiety is such an issue now. I mean, when I started teaching, whatever day dot that was, I didn't even really hear about anxiety. It wasn't a thing, and now it's just so prevalent that actually how you can kind of like calm and soothe that nervous system it should be something that's there for them every day really in their lives, and everything else is kind of supercharging and creating that kind of super, I don't know, it's everything on that level, isn't it? Whatever you're being affected by, we don't know electrically what everything does, but there has to be, I mean, even I noticed changes in behavior where, you pass like a mast or something and everyone's driving fast, or there are definitely, I would say, effects on our whole body and our mind from other sources. So it's just, how do you calm that down? How do we balance that? How do we switch off? I mean, everyone is just addicted to their mobile phones, and you're constantly hooked in, almost like it's a robot that's telling us what to do the whole time. And then you've got social media. So I think it's really important for everybody. I hate the word, perhaps, I mean, I know it's mental health, it is mental health, but it's almost like it's a self-care. Ultimately, how do we care for ourselves better, and how do we support our well-being?
And unfortunately, the day and age we live in, although it's getting better, it's not readily available out there, is it? So we have to almost seek these things ourselves, and that's the beauty of these platforms, is just to try and get those healing modalities out there so people can tap into them and try different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
The mainstream, because there's something, I mean, there's been healing for many years. I mean, I think for aeons, there's always been natural remedies, ways of doing things, and sound is just one of many. But one of the things, like, okay, going out and putting your feet on the earth, grounding, being in nature is another. It's all frequency, it's energy. But for those that maybe can't get out into nature, that they might live in a built-up area or they're restricted to their home, sound, again, you can do that anywhere. And that's, I suppose, the beauty of your particular area, isn't it? You can take it with you. Like you said, you can use your voice, there's so many different ways how that can kind of help calm. It's almost like a form, in my experience, it's almost like a form of a meditation, because it's putting you into that quiet spot, isn't it?
It is, and then it's even more, because I think it gives you a chance to restore your own health. I think that's the power with it. I think meditation is a really important thing, to stop all that chit chat and like just to calm ourselves and switch the mind off. But there is something with the vibration. I mean, they're using it, science are using it now to sort of break down cancer cells in the liver, and those sound vibrations are very, very powerful. So I think, as much as we know how we feel if a pneumatic drill's going off and it makes us feel all like discombobulated, or that we don't feel good, and that resonance doesn't make us feel good, I think it's becoming much more aware of what makes us feel good and what doesn't, and that we have to work really hard to keep ourselves in balance and keep ourselves healthy and keep ourselves, if you like, harmonious. That it's hard work, and it's becoming harder. Whereas I'd usually, take myself off, I'd surf in the waves or be in the sea, feel fabulous. That's all I needed. And now I feel that bombardment of whatever is going on every level. We've got to work really hard and find time for, as you say, if people are really good at meditating, fantastic. I find that the sound accesses something like a switch really quickly, whereas for me, my brain is always busy whirring around things. So it's just finding what works for you, and we're all different, and that's the beauty of it. It's just like different frequencies and different activities, or going and hanging out in the trees, whatever feels good.
Because we are bombarded nowadays by so many different energies. Everything's sort of getting a lot faster, the internet, everything. And, and I think, and also people's anxiety, we pick up on other people's, feelings as well as our own. Some people are more sensitive. And I think certainly sort of from my personal experience, and probably from yours as well, from the way you talk, because you're very in tune with your own body and what feels right. I think the more you tap into that and work with that intuition, even if it's just through feeling and sensing, it's almost like you're then able to discern a little bit more, aren't you? Just like my own experience when you reset my body, or you helped to reset me through doing the session, I was then able to pick up on something that actually was causing more of a problem in my environment. So it's really key, isn't it, to stay in balance, because we don't always realize what is impacting us, and sometimes we own it as our own. And just, I think, having those tools to be able to put yourself in alignment, and then you can kind of almost live a bit more of a fuller life. And also, like you said, you're doing that healing. But you're absolutely right. At the moment, we're definitely having to work hard at it, because I've been feeling it a lot as well.
It's work in progress, and I think it's just, the more I research, the more I experiment, the more I try things, the more people seem to be drawn to particular notes, and they like their own particular bowl set, whatever it is, or their particular tuning fork set, they love that. Then I think it's just knowing that there are some amazing tools out there that really can help us, that are not out of reach. The ancient mystics knew all about this, and it's almost as if modern science is finally catching up. And I wish I'd had it all the way through my childhood. It would have been incredible. You know, we've all had, I'm sure, people, I'm in my 50s now, and you know, burnout is one of those things that everybody, I would say, in my generation has experienced at one time or other. And you just think, if we'd had all these other available modalities to kind of, embody ourselves better, keep ourselves grounded, keep ourselves calm. I mean, there's connected breath work, and that's doing amazing things for people. You know, that's quite full on. But I mean, who'd have thought you would have a modality where you were actually putting the body into fight or flight to almost teach the body how to manage that? And sound is working with the nervous system. It's working with the vagus nerve. It's completely accessing everything through the whole body, and that resonance that you just, and those brain waves to give yourself that inner peace. You know, it's like a plug, you know, a socket where you just go, and then suddenly it's almost like it allows you to know what's going on. It gives you that peace to actually check in, because everything is just noise. There's just noise everywhere, and it's non-stop. So it's just it's funny, because I mean, I used to love sound, music, you know, and now I just think actually finding that peace and that quiet and that silence, and you know, I don't know whether that's just part of getting older, but I do think this world has gone to a new level of crazy.
Don't you, as you get, you crave it. I think I mean, everybody's different, but I certainly crave it. It's like,
Yeah,
this one, quiet, peace, just that. And I know too much can be a little bit overwhelming as well, because you know, you don't want to be completely cut off, but especially if you're a sociable person, but it's so important just to tap into your own
it's
inner
a balance, isn't it? It's yin yang. It's like, have we got this in the right proportion? How do you learn to say no? So there's so many different tools, and obviously different people can access it in a different way. But sound for me is definitely a gift that you know, when that came into my life when I was in Bali, and suddenly realized I was always kind of drawn to gamelan, but then it kind of, you know, it went into using different instruments and Himalayan bowls, and then obviously in Avebury I found a crystal bowl. So I just feel my journey, thank you for whoever's out there, thank you universe for, you know, making these instruments come my way and just understanding how powerful they are. So yeah, that's my thing, and I love the results it's had with clients and how it's made them feel, including yourself. So I really appreciate that, and thank you for having me to chat about, you know, everything.
No, you're welcome, Harry. I was just going to ask, actually, is there anything else you want to mention,
No.
or anything?
In terms of like what I'm doing, or
anything we haven't mentioned that you want to share, or
well, you can find me in my sound bubble, which I now call it, which is a studio, and I can just be I think it's just learning, experimenting, working with different, really kind of tuning into what the different effects are that they have. And then yeah, it's a lovely place to see clients, because there's a one-to-one and a group space, and I can have all my instruments, so I don't have to be sort of like roadie anymore, taking them all out everywhere. So that's good. And then I think it's just, yeah, I'm open to ideas or thoughts, or if I know what I've been exploring in terms of my own research and looking at solfeggio frequencies, re-looking at that, they resurfaced. And I think it's sort of like understanding that these do have a phenomenal effect on our mind and body. So yeah, so I'm there busy doing, you know, interrupt me anytime, or email is probably the best way to contact me. I think you've probably got all my details, haven't you?
I was going to say, do you want to just mention the main sort of key, like your website, and I'll put it on into the video when we share the demo that you do at the end. So anybody obviously want to just get a taster of what Harry does, we'll add a demo in, and obviously we'll just put the website there as well for anyone that wants to. But if you just want to share what website and email address.
Yeah, so www.rezenance, which is REZEN with the Zen in the middle, ANCE.co.uk. So webpage has everything on it. I'm not brilliant on social media, but I'm trying to do a little bit on Instagram at Rezenance. And then my email is info@rezenance.co.uk. So hopefully, yeah, get in touch if there's anything you would like. I love making like little sound bites for people that they can listen to, personalizing those for them, recording them. And yeah, maybe at some point I'll put some things out on YouTube to share. But for now, it's quite nice working. Everyone's so individual, so it's quite nice working on an individual level and working out what that person needs and what would be helpful for them.
Thank you, Harry. I really appreciate you today and your time and energy. And hopefully this will go out to a lot of people and help a lot of people. And you know, maybe they can contact you direct, and if they've got any questions. But thank you so much. I know you've been amazing for my personal journey, and I'd love to have you back if you want to come back.
Oh, I'd love to. And I'm really, yeah, I've got to get more used to this, but hopefully I haven't waffled on too much. So yeah.
No, you've been brilliant.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, thank you so much. I really genuinely thank you for your time.
Oh,
I hope to have you back real soon.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Too. Well, thank you everyone for watching. It's been amazing. You know, I hope we can continue the content. So please subscribe if you're able to. It really helps me to keep this going. And I hope to see you again very, very soon. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you for having me.